Spending some time today talking to men's assistant basketball coach Xavier Joyner. Coach, welcome to JMU Nation. How you doing?
Doing great, Dave. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. How's this transition been for you? It's obviously a very awkward time.
Yeah, it is definitely an awkward time. But the transition has actually been, smoother than I thought it would be. I actually found a place pretty easily in the Harrisonburg area. It was really quiet, to be honest. Like, I haven't seen much movement in the area. That I've heard that it's a really, thriving and really a moving area. But it's been pretty quiet. But my wife and I were able to find a good place, and I've been comfortable staying there.
Tell us about your family, if you will.
Yeah. So. It's funny because I have, when I tell people the age of my kids, they're like, wow, how old are you? So I have twin daughters that are going on 25 in August. So they're college graduates from Bowie State University. And I have a son that's 19 years old who just committed to Concordia College for a basketball scholarship coming up here. He'll be an upcoming freshman coming up. And then also my wife that I've been married to for going on 25 years.
Congratulations for that. I just celebrated 23 myself. So,
man.
When you make it like that, especially in our industry, I think you've definitely done something. Let's talk about your background, because you've got an extensive background in coaching. When did you first get into basketball, though? Who first got you into the sport and put a ball in your hand?
So I started playing basketball back when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. I know you just seen the In the Water PG County Showtime video that just came out recently. So I grew up in the Seat Pleasant, Maryland, Largo area. And that area, actually a couple of guys that were on that show, Keith Williams, he's a trainer, he trained Kevin Durant. All those guys lived in my neighborhood. And so they started me early, dribbling the ball at Oak Crest Elementary in Seat Pleasant. And that's actually where Kevin Durant started his parade after he won the championship, is off of Seat Pleasant Drive, and that's where I grew up. So I kind of grew up in the water, and that kind of started the played at Peppermill, which is also featured in the Showtime event that just came out. Peppermill Rec Centers was my first organization that I played for, and then I moved on from there, and we moved across a couple of miles down the road to Largo, Maryland, where I played for Kettering. Which is a prominent boys club in Prince George's County. And that kind of changed me because it went from being a little bit of somewhat, not unorganized, but it was kind of just, fun and random in the Seat Pleasant area. When I moved over to Largo, I got with people like the likes of Mike Jones, who's at DeMatha. He's DeMatha's head coach. That was my boys club teammate. So it got very competitive at the Kettering Largo boys club.
I'd say it's no wonder you an all-conference player in college from who you played with growing up.
Oh, so I was pretty much the only, one of like maybe 2 kids that actually went to public school from my boys club team. So my Kettering boys club team were all like, Catholic school guys that, as I said, Mike Jones, guys that went to DeMatha, guys that went to, McNamara, they went to all the WCAC schools. But I was, somewhat of a pioneer and went to, which at the time, Largo High School, which was not a basketball powerhouse that they ended up turning out to be. And then by my sophomore year, Lewis Wilson, who's the head coach at Wise High School now, same coach that coached Mike Beasley and Nolan Smith at Riverdale Baptist, he became my high school coach at Largo High School, and he changed the culture and it just showed the way. And we became, Largo, in 1991, we were Largo High School's first 4A league champion. And so I happened to be a captain on that team and helped spearhead the Largo tradition.
I touched on your extensive background from AAU coaching to coaching at a high school level to the collegiate level. What is it about this job that you love the most? You find yourself chasing day after day?
So just to kind of give you a background of how I started. So my college teammate got the Montgomery College job at, his name is Mark Crutchfield. He became the head coach at Montgomery College in 2000. And at the time, as I said, I had twins in 95. So I was just kind of getting my feet, under me, kind of taking a breath, with 5-year-old twins. I was just like, whew. And he asked me, he said, hey, I need an assistant coach. And I'm like, whoa, like college? I'm starting out in college. I didn't have to even go to the boys club or high school route. So I took it, and it was, obviously loved the game. And I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And initially starting out, it was rough because we came in to a program that was, pretty much shut down due to academic reasons. So the athletic director just charged us to make sure we kept the program, kept guys eligible. That was the first and, the number one requirement for us. So we did that, and I just kind of fell in love with seeing guys that were quote unquote somewhat academically challenged, and just really being the counselor, the mentor, the psychologist, and I just really fell in love with the game. And then in 2004, Mark Crutchfield, he got the job at Villanova as their men's basketball strength coach solely for men's basketball, and that's how I became head coach. And then that's when I developed into, hey, how am I going to do this? I got to study Morgan Wooten, and so I studied a lot of different head coaches and how they developed their programs and built it from bottom up. And at the time, Montgomery College, Germantown was really didn't have a whole lot as far as like talent, and so I just went out and just tried to make the best of it. And my first thing that I said was, obviously we got to change the branding of it. We have to change what people think about community college. So I ended up going and recruiting basically all Prince George's County players, and I created a 4-year, as I called it, a 4-year field at a community college. And so I was able to convince parents to sign a 4-way lease and live, have their student athletes live in apartments directly across the street from the school. And looking back, I'm like, wow, how did I survive that? Where I was fortunate because I had great assistant coaches, I had great parents who all paid their rent. Because if one parent didn't pay a fourth of the rent, the other 3 were due for the rent. So it was challenging, but I started to see it pay off. I started to see guys move on to the Division II level, Division I level. I was like, wow, this is amazing to see. I mean, I challenged guys. I didn't have low expectations academically. There were times where I challenged guys to take 21 credits in a semester, and just to see those guys who had low expectations in high school now become 4-year graduates. Over 40 some odd guys now have 4-year degrees. It just kind of kept me going, and it keeps my spirit going every day, just to see as I said initially, I didn't know where this was going to take me, but to see so many guys be successful with now businessmen, whatever, lawyers. One of my former players at Prince George is the director of scouting for the Atlanta Hawks. So just to see all different avenues the guys have taken, and they all have learned through my programs, keeps me going down.
You mentioned your friend taking the strength job at Villanova. Was that your connection to become a camp coach there? I noticed on your resume that you spent some time at their basketball camp.
So my connection goes a little bit further than that. So my connection with Villanova is, so my former assistant coach, who was also a good friend of mine that grew up in the Seat Pleasant area with me, James Bryson. James Bryson actually signed with Villanova out of Largo High School. And he went there with back when they had Rolly Massimino. And so Jay Wright was one of his assistant coaches. And so during the summers, he would always invite me up during the Villanova camp and, introduce me to Jay Wright and, say, hey, X is a coach, he wants to work camp. So that's actually how I met Jay Wright. So I would start working the camps every year and then just kind of use Jay as a mentor throughout my career. Even to this day, I still use Jay as someone that, I learned a lot. I've learned a lot of things, a lot of, offensive principles, defensive principles, how to, keep guys afloat, how to, the whole thing. So Jay has been extremely helpful in my career, and I've really appreciated him and his ability to, teach and communicate with me.
Not a bad source to have if you got to go to a source. That's pretty good for sure.
Great guy.
Xavier Joyner a little bit better here. Let's find out about you personally. Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh man, that's a good one. I'm not a real movie guy, so I have a ton of movies that I loved growing up. I would say An Officer and a Gentleman was a really good movie that I liked. I liked a ton of different movies. A lot of the Eddie Murphy movies. Coming to America was really hilarious during my time coming up. It still is hilarious. So kids are into movies now, so they watch a lot of movies. But back then it was Coming to America. I would say would be my favorite thing.
What about your favorite food? If you're gonna plan a team meal and you get to pick what the team's gonna have, what are you eating?
Well, spaghetti is one of my favorites. So I absolutely love spaghetti, and I've always had a ton of at my team dinners. Spaghetti is always going to be on the menu.
With a family and a coaching job that keeps you busy and a transition that you're going through, not a lot of free time, but do you have any hobbies? Anything if you get some free time for an afternoon and it's going to be you or you get to pick what you're doing, what do you find yourself doing?
I do like bowling as a side thing. So it's funny that my hobbies are going to probably be centered around basketball. So during my free time, I'm watching basketball clinics or the virtual clinics that are out right now. And as we talked as a staff recently, is during this downtime is a great time for us to do some personal development as well as some professional development. So that's kind of what I spend my time doing.
You hit the road recruiting. Do you have time to put together a playlist or a soundtrack? And what are you listening to when you're not on the phone talking to coaches or recruits?
So recently, my dad is a musician. He's been a long time musician. So I grew up with the dad who was he's church musician. He's the director of all his church choirs, and he was a professional musician. He has played with the OJs. The Reddings, like he's been on James Brown, like, so he's a pianist. So he got me into jazz. So I listened to a little jazz. And, in our profession, it's very stressful. So there are times when I'll just listen to some jazz and just relax. I don't really have an artist that I love, and then just to stay young, I'll listen to the hip hop music in the locker room and on my treadmill.
It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Can't wait to meet you face to face and get this season started. And again, welcome to Harrisonburg and to a part of JMU men's basketball. Thanks. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Appreciate it.